I thought I'd talk about two encounters I've had with moose on the property in the last few years, and just from there I'd tell you how that has had an impact on my mind. And then I should tell you what I know about moose, which influenced the first encounter, well, every encounter actually. A moose is a very big animal, as you know. And, they're at least 5 to 7 feet at the shoulder high, and with their head attached to their neck. That makes them about 8 or 9 feet in the air. And when I used to live in Alberta, I was given a lot of advice about what to do when you meet a moose, because you may not know this, but of all the animals in the world, there are more people hurt by moose than any other animal. So of course that's always in my mind. And then there's another statistic that they attack more people than bears and wolves combined. So, when I go out walking, I've got this in my mind. So the first time I was out a few years ago, several children had indicated that there was a moose in the area. So I was kind of on guard. But I was out by myself, and it was very, very quiet. It was quite a lovely walk. And then I came around the corner on Bodhisattva Path, and all of a sudden, right in front of me was a moose about 30 feet away. So I screamed, the moose screamed. I tried to go behind a tree because that's what you're supposed to do, and I was in my robe, so I got caught in the bushes. So I'm trying to pedal away in the bushes, and the moose just saw me and went, ah! And went off in the other direction. And that was the end of the story, the end of the encounter. So I think moose usually don't want to have anything to do with us humans. So, that didn't lower my on-guardness when I walk around here, because, they can be aggressive. They're unpredictable, especially in mating season. And, if a male moose, which weighs anywhere from 800 to 1,500 pounds, is in my vicinity, that's 18 times more than I weigh. So, I'm going to lose here. So the second encounter, though, was very, very different. And that was this fall, about, a month ago. And I was out on the path again. But this time it was during the Chenrezig retreat. And so I think all of us were doing a lot of mantra recitation. And I was doing that out loud just because I thought it'd be a nice thing to do. And it was a beautiful day. And again, I was on the Bodhisattva path, and this time I came around the corner, but I was in a totally very relaxed space. And I came around the corner, and again, face to face, this time much closer, with this huge male moose. And I know it's a male because it has the rack on. And so this time I didn't scream because I couldn't. It was just sort of like, and I saw this moose just sort of stop too. So I thought, great, what am I going to do? Because there are no big trees around it. So the advice is get yourself between a moose and a tree, and then they can't get you with their hoofs, they can't charge or anything. You're good. You can just keep dancing around the tree because they're so big, they'll never get you. But there was no tree, there was just the bushes on either side. So I just kept saying mantra out loud, not loud, but just very quietly, and the moose was just looking at me, just in a curious way. And there was just this sense of meeting between the two of us, like two beings, neither one intending harm, probably both a little bit leery and a little bit afraid, but just this feeling of like this meeting. And it was really, really very nice. And these are very big, majestic looking creatures, really. And so I just kept looking at him, and every now and then I'd take a few steps forward, just very, very carefully, and he didn't move. He just kept looking at me. And so I thought, well, let me see how close I can get. Now I know that's a little bit stupid, but I thought, well, I'll just see how it goes. And I got more and more steps closer, and then all of a sudden he cranked his head around, heard something, and he just took off through a bush. And as it turned out, Venerable Senke and one of our guests were out for a walk and kind of spooked the moose. So what that second encounter has gotten me thinking about since then is that, we hear from our teachers, from Venerable Children and all of her teachers, that we're hallucinating all the time. We just see someone or something, and we get the stories going, and I can see now that it's usually just a huge hallucination. And in the case of this moose, there was no threat going on there. I mean, I have to remember, of course it's a wild animal, and you have to be not ridiculously foolish and be cautious. But in the moments that I didn't have a story running about this creature being dangerous, there was just this feeling of openness and, just acceptance. I can only speak for myself. I have no idea what the moose was thinking. But they are herbivores, so he wasn't thinking lunch, And it was a male moose. There was no offspring around to protect. So I think now, if I encounter a situation, I start to spin a story in my head that maybe someone looks dangerous or someone looks threatening. I can just sort of put that story aside and just take the time to just, look at that person and consider that they're just like me. They're just a living being. Sure, there's stuff going on in their mind if it's a person. But I have no clue what it is. I have no clue. And I have another story just that makes this so obvious. One day a friend and I were sitting on a bench in a park in Banff. And this couple walked by. And so after the couple walked by, I said to my friend, wow, did you see the look on that guy's face? He looks like in a really bad mood. And my friend said to me, oh, really? I thought he looked fine. I thought it was the woman he was with that looked like she was in a really bad mood. We had totally different perceptions about both people. Probably totally wrong. Totally wrong. So I think if we can always remember that we're hallucinating, and that if we can give someone the time of day just to, just to be with someone without this story running in our mind, we'll have a much better chance of seeing someone. Much better. And I'm sure it'll be much more harmonious, like my encounter the second time with the moose.